The National Basketball Association has been around since 1947 and in the 7 decades since, it has grown into the largest basketball league in the world. It has also produced some of the strangest moments in sports history, from Michael Jordan's early retirement in his prime to Malice at the Palace to the Nuggets-Knicks brawl. Here are 10 of the strangest moments in NBA history. Let's get started. Number 10. The Nuggets-Knicks fight 2006. During an NBA game in 2006, a fight broke out between the Nuggets and the Knicks. Perhaps the best part of it all was Nate Robinson losing his cool and dancing like Mike Tyson, challenging everyone who had heard of Denver to a fight. Maybe it was Carmelo Anthony, throwing punches before retreating to the safety of his bench like a true hero. Or maybe, it was just the usual group of middle-aged white guys trying to keep everyone in line. Or maybe, the point is, a lot was going on here. This wasn't a normal fight where guys push and shove each other a little. The boys were all about fighting. Eventually, everyone on the field was thrown off balance, and Carmelo set a world record in the 100 meters. Number 9. Dennis Rodman kicks a cameraman 1997. The truth about Rodman's madness is that it has been largely forgotten by time. Between boning Madonna, wedding dresses and his North Korean adventures, nobody has time for a little cameraman abuse, but let's face it, that shit was wild. I mean, come on, he kicked a guy in the nuts. Just some random brother minding his own business, and then boom! He tries to take a deep breath and wonders if he'll ever have kids. Dennis was suspended for 11 games and finally settled with the guy out of court, and the cameraman went on to receive an Emmy nomination for his actions after the kick. It's a thing of beauty. Nobody plays dead better than this guy. Number 8. Latrell Sprewell chokes his coach 1997. There is no authentic film of this incident, as it happened during training, but it's probably a good thing for Latrell as his career might have ended otherwise. Indeed, it's one thing to watch videos about it, but as Ray Rice can attest, people react a little differently once they've seen the rubbish. And they would have seen Latrell spit on head coach PJ Carlesimo and choke him for 10 seconds before being carried away. This is not a quick reaction by the guy. To emphasize the point, once Latrell returned to the locker room and took a shower, he returned 20 minutes later and assaulted Carlesimo again. He only managed a brief punch to the face this time, before being taken away. He was eventually moved because, well, he then managed to stay in the NBA for years, but he never really got rid of that image, which is a terrible thing to remember. Number 7. Kermit Washington destroys Rudy Tomjanovich's face 1977. As we've seen and will see, hitting individuals is not uncommon in the NBA, but truly insane behavior usually includes a lot of punching or fans. But not this one, and that's because it's the most amazing punch in NBA history. It was a rather unusual scenario. During a normal NBA fight, Rudy Tomjanovich chose to mediate and ran to separate everyone. On the other hand, Kermit Washington made a different decision and threw a punch that collided with the fully loaded Rudy T, resulting in something that looked more like a car crash than a fight. Rudy's face was smashed, and he claimed he could taste his cerebrospinal fluid. Meanwhile, the audience fell silent. Kermit was suspended for 60 days and eventually found solace in the affection of Miss Piggy, but Rudy T was never quite the same, which is what happens when a character is suspended for 60 days. Number 6. Malice in the Palace 2004. How many sports fights end up with a nickname that seems to have been dropped by Don King? I guess that's exactly what happens when everyone loses their head. Players end up brawling with fans in the crowd, and Entourage's turtle lookalike ends up getting punched after wandering onto the field. It was more than just wild. It was one of those things that no one can believe is happening while it's happening. It just got crazier and crazier. You had Ron Artest completely losing his mind and charging the stands to murder to death a guy who threw a drink at him. You had Steven Jackson using it all as an excuse to go all Terminator on random fans, jumping around like a crazy person, and of course, you had the Detroit fans themselves, who weren't about to sit there and let the players take all the crazies. In the end, everyone was suspended, the fans were arrested, the Pacers fell apart, Ron Artest became Hannibal Lecter to the general public. Gone are the days of Vernon Maxwell 10-game suspensions, and the era we now live in has become the new reality. That's what did it. Player behavior has been under the microscope ever since, and it's largely because of that the craziest moment in NBA history. Number 5. Magic Johnson announces he is HIV positive 1991. We're all forgetting about it now since Magic is still here, looking big and happy. It's like LeBron holding a press conference tomorrow to announce his retirement due to Ebola. You also have to acknowledge that Magic was more than just a celebrity. No, he was a pop culture icon. More than any other player, he elevated the NBA to the most popular sport in the 1980s. He looked like a movie star with his bright smile and easygoing demeanor. And then this guy went on TV and told everyone that he would die soon. Not a big deal. Number 4. Vernon Maxwell's spiked fan 1995. It's one thing to punch other players in the face on the pitch, but when you start opening the can of worms on the fans, you've gone mad. But that's exactly what Vernon Maxwell did in Portland in 1995, when he ran into the stands and punched a fan in the face, breaking his jaw because the guy was talking too much nonsense. Maxwell was only banned for 10 games. Imagine what would happen if he did it now and fined $20,000. Most incredibly, Vernon's lawyer used the standard he had it coming defense, he said, saying that the man deserved it because he was hurling insults and would have done the same thing. Even the Mad Max lawyer was a thug. Number 3. Michael Jordan retires 1993. After winning 3 consecutive NBA titles in his prime, Michael Jordan, the best and most famous basketball player in the universe's history, stunned everyone by retiring to minor league baseball. That's crazy enough in itself, but almost everyone thinks it was a retirement, a change made by Commissioner David Stern, since Michael's compulsive playing had gotten totally out of hand. This is just a conspiracy theory, and I hope MJ doesn't send his lawyers or Charles Oakley to hit me in the knees with baseball bats. Still, a lot of people believe it's true. Of course, Michael eventually came back and kicked everyone in the shins, but let's not forget how weird that was. The baseball part added to its surreality, as we got to see footage of him playing horrible minor league baseball on ESPN, hitting all the time, and overall looking like a gangly twit. I mean, what exactly is that? Number 2. Charles Barkley spits on a little girl 1991. In 1991, Charles Barkley spat on a young girl. This happened. Well, okay, Sir Charles was trying to spit on a heckler, and isn't it hilarious to consider that a valid excuse? But he lost control and ended up placing one on an 8-year-old girl in the audience. Think about what would happen if this happened now. On ESPN, Charles would be crucified live. He had just been fined $10,000 at the time and ended up befriending the girl and her family. Number 1. Mark Eaton thinks he's Kermit Washington. Mark Eaton is one of the players in NBA history to record a quadruple-double, which he did in just 15 minutes. After grabbing 29 rebounds in a game against Indiana, Los Angeles Clippers center Bob McAdoo was so disgusted with his team's lack of effort that he motivated his teammates by hitting then Clippers forward Kermit Washington in the head with a chair. Perhaps he was trying to send a message about intensity or teamwork. Still, Washington suffered multiple fractures and nearly 10 stitches to his head. Washington was traded a few days later. Mark Eaton pleaded guilty to the assault charges and was placed on probation. When searching for weird moments in NBA history, you don't have to look much further than someone getting clocked on their head with a folding chair. Luckily, there are quite a few instances where weird things occurred, such as when Mark Eaton scored 30 points and pulled down 44 rebounds during a playoff game, without attempting any field goals, or when one player purposely missed 6 consecutive free throws, to set the record for most free throws made without missing. Yeah, I guess we have some pretty strange moments in our league's past. At least no one has ever suffered facial burns after drinking milk. Otherwise, it would be tragic. Thanks for watching, guys. We've reached the end of today's video. So, which of these moments struck you as the strangest? Tell us in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, I'm sure you'll want another one now. Feel free to check them out. See you in the next video.